Thank you. Thank you very much. This is obviously a question and a disease that has touched us all, and I think it's something that the prevention part of the 3-tip triangle is something that we don't cover a lot when it's out and about. You know, we talk a lot about fundraising for treatments and research, but the prevention piece is often missing, and this addresses that missing piece of the work. And basically, it's a really simple thing. The substances, the toxic substances that are allowed to be in products that we use and the things in our air and the things in our environment, it needs to stop, and it needs to be regulated with some teeth, enforcement regulation with teeth. And so the NDP is dedicated to reducing the exposure, and we have been working closely with the Canadian Cancer Society to further this goal. And New Democrats have introduced dozens of amendments to bill, including the Toxic Reduction Act. I'm reading this so I get it right, because they tend to all start sounding the same when you read them. But so the Toxic Reductions Act to strengthen the regulation on toxic additions to products. But unfortunately, these constructive changes were voted down, and so they haven't been passed. But we will continue to do this work, and we will continue to be strong advocates because these regulations need to be strengthened, and this is really the part of the puzzle that's not talked about enough. And it's really important that we're stopping the problem before it starts.
It is one of those deadly diseases that, you're right, affects all of us at one time or another. So a couple of things. We have our party has a strong connection with Cancer Care Ontario. They're like our stewards as we move forward, because they're the folks that are down in the trenches when it comes to a deadly disease. So a couple of things. One, we're probably the first province in Canada to put a ban on smoking in public places. And personally, I'm not sure how many of you knew, but we have a family business. It's an outdoor business. In half of our spectator section of our grandstands, we ban smoking even outside. So just to give you some sense of how strong I feel about that. So we banned smoking in public places, province-wide. As my colleagues said, we're the first government to pass a Toxin Reduction Act in the province of Ontario that it's being implemented as we speak, tackling different areas of toxins. We banned cosmetic use of pesticides. So our lawns might look as pretty, but you know, we had less water contamination in the last couple of years, and I'm talking about Lake Ontario, than years past. And I don't want to give that all the credit to that particular piece of legislation, but it's working. We passed the Water Source Protection Act. I must say, with all due respect to my NDP colleague, that both her party, sorry, not her party, but the Conservative Party, voted against the cosmetic use of pesticides. We know it works. Doctors told us that, nurses told us that, and experts told us that. Is there more that we have to do? Absolutely. As we clean our air, as we clean our environment, we need to do more until, first of all, we find a cure. But before finding a cure, it'd be nice also to get the cause.
Our environment, our air, our water, and the lands that we live on. These are the things that we use on a day-to-day basis, and we want to maintain their pristine, clean ability to live in peace and harmony. I think that's a sort of universal axiom that we all want to subscribe to. The problem is, though, with lax regulations, we have actually been poisoning ourselves. How many people here have ever checked out the municipal water reports that come out each year from your local town? Very good, thank you, sir. So 2 of us have, that's good. Our little town here of Cobourg has reported a spike in the uranium metal that's being intaked out of the Lake Ontario waters last year to the tune of doubling from 150 parts per billion to 300. This was outrageous. I complained to the city. They did some actions, they changed some filters, they wound up doing something different. They started measuring things a little bit less. It's down to about 100 or so, 110. Still outrageous though, and we're still lacking the regulations that will allow us to have clean water, clean air, and clean lands. This is not being done fast enough. We'll wind up becoming our own guinea pigs, and especially with the lax attitude with what has happened with the remains from the old El Dorado nuclear site on the Port Hope waterfront. As your representative, I would accelerate this process to make sure that we would clean up our polluted lands to ensure that our children have a safe and livable space to continue their lives.
This is an excellent question again. We obviously, being the Green Party, believe in clean air, clean water, and clean land as being important for a healthy population, being important for a healthy economy as well. Our air will be clean because we're focusing on renewable energy. We're raising automobile and truck emission standards. We will make sure that groundwater is protected. We're going to give more money to conservation authorities so that they can provide help for people who are on well systems to make sure those systems are either closed off if they're abandoned or that they're properly maintained. There are programs that are out there, but they're not fully funded and they're ad hoc. These are very important considerations to keep people healthy. In terms of soil, as I started to mention earlier, we are raising the tax, or not tax, but the license we charge aggregate providers for the aggregate they take. We're going to raise $240 million that way that will be used to rehabilitate brownfields. And in terms of soil protection, we will not allow sewage sludge to be spread on lands. We will also not allow incineration. We're also going to make sure that the World Health Organization limit for it's called microcytins, which occur in algae, are adopted in Ontario. Right now, because of fertilizer runoff and any sewage that is created from municipal systems, that causes algae, and that algae creates toxins that are harmful to your, cause liver cancer and neurotoxin, they're neurotoxins.
It's not good, yes.